Hey, what's up guys, it's T-Bone here and welcome back to another episode of playing Legendary Game of Heroes. So this next event is coming up, it's called The Beast from the Bottomless Pit. And before I go into the actual deck preview, what I wanted to do is take a couple of minutes and talk about sort of the changes I've made to the relative comparison of decks. Now, in the recent weeks, pretty much all of the decks that have come out have really met sort of the S deck requirement that I sort of came up with a while ago. And so it's become really hard to differentiate between the different decks. And so what I've done is I've created a couple of subcategories to try and talk about a little bit. And so if you take a look here, I have created three categories. The first one is an intensity requirement of less than 20, has a max score of 1. And then the power gem spawns, whether single ultra rare can spawn power gems, and fill out the board. That is a maximum of 2. And then whether or not the power gem spawns has a guarantee, whether it's guaranteed or if it has some conditions, or if it's not a guarantee at all. Right, and so it has a max score of 5, so each of these decks can score a max of 5. And just again to reiterate, an S-type deck really is a deck that in its own event you can see scores of 10 billion, 20 billion, or more. Okay, and these are all decks that have shown this kind of damage output, and some of them have been able to score hundreds of billions of damage. Okay, and so in terms of power, there's really no question that these are very powerful, but they still, I think, have some sort of ranking associated with them. So let's take a look at the last deck that we had, which was Clash of Olympians, that scored a 5. So what does it mean? Well, it has a very low intensity requirement. It's less than 20 to spawn per every power gem. And a single card can fill up the entire board with power gems, and it's absolutely a guarantee. There is no conditions around it. Every 7 turns, you'll be able to get it, and that's just a matter of turn counting. And then if you take a look at something like the Tesla Effect Alexa deck, it does have a score of 3 because it has a relatively low intensity requirement. The Ultra Rare has a 15 intensity requirement. And it can fill out the board, but it has a 30% chance of spawning power gems. So in a single fight, there's a 30% chance that it will never spawn, and you can go through an entire match without ever being able to fill out the board. So that's why it scores a 0. Okay, so overall it has a total score of 3, but that's still better than you can notice that than this current deck. So the Beast from the Bottomless Pit is the same thing as the other one, where it is the Reuniting Darkness deck, which featured the Golden Guardian. So this one scored a 2 because it has a huge intensity requirement. The Ultra Rare at 6 stars requires 100. Okay, 100 intensity per gem. And so a single rare, there is no way for you to fill up an entire board in 20 seconds. I'm not even sure if I'll be able to do it in 60 seconds, maybe, right? But in typical matches, 20 seconds per match, it's impossible. Okay, and you may not even be able to get half the board. Okay, and so it's scored a 0. And but it's a guarantee. It's the same thing. It has a low turn cooldown. I believe it's 3 turns. We can take a look again, but it has a guarantee, so it scored 2 there. But it's scores lower because of the fact that it's really slow. Now take a look at the other deck though. That one of my favorites is the Colosseum of Carnage, which is a Flamma deck. It scored a 3 because it does have a low intensity requirement, but it doesn't quite fill up the board. It can fill up most of it through the passive spawns. And so it scores a 1, and also because it does have a condition of requiring a power gem being on the board before it spawns, it also scored a 1. So it's a 3 deck for me, and it's really versatile, really fun to use. So I really enjoy it. But obviously a 5 deck like the Clash of Olympians deck or the Monster Bash, which is the Halloween deck, these are the easiest and the best ones to use. So hopefully this type of information gives you a bit more, hopefully this gives you more information and is more useful for you to sort of determine how effective a deck can be and whether or not that's something that you would like for yourself. So now let's go into the actual event now. There's a couple of things I wanted to do. One is we'll talk about the cards because we just kind of talked about the strength here. Again, this is an S tier deck, but it rates 2 out of 5 for me. Okay, and so we can talk about cards here. And so what I'll say up front is I'm not going to invest all in this deck. I did invest in the Clash of the Olympians one because I had the 2 ultra rares. I was really lucky. I pulled it in by tier 5, and so I was only missing the Mind Taker, so I went after one and I got it. because I knew that was going to be a really powerful deck that I can use for a very long time. Now this deck, I would just go through the cards here, but not one that I would recommend you use. Even if you get an ultra rare, it's going to be hard to use, and it's not going to get the kind of output that you're looking for. So let's take a look here. Now the names for these cards are going to be a little bit harder to pronounce. I'm not going to really try too much here. So instead, I'll just say that the Cannibal God here, which is the support card, does have immunity to, it gives you an immunity for damage for 1 turn. But it does a 7-card cooldown, and so this is the card that will be free for you. It's a support card. Now it is a spirit type, so we can talk about what to do with this type of with these cards, like how you can mix and match later on as well. So it's a spirit card, and it does have a passive where it creates generates additional intensity every turn, and so this is really your intensity generator. Okay, yeah, because this deck requires a lot of intensity, so you need this, and because you'll see later all of the other cards are attack heroes, you're gonna have lower health in general, so you need immunity here. Okay, and this one dispels chaos, so I believe this is the first card that actually dispels chaos, and so you know, will be a good card for you to have in your arsenal. And then the other card, which is the event card, is Ozomatli, and this is a attacker spirit card where it will create 5 fire gems, and it will increase attack of your spirit heroes by 1% for every 5 spirit intensity and up to 50% maximum. Now, the thing to think about here is this type of cards is actually sort of the only way you can increase the overall damage of this type of cards, these S decks. So what I mean by that is when all things are equal, everything, you know, assume that all of the cards and all the decks, they have the same damage output. All the cards have the same, attack value. And if you have the same relics for all of them, the only way to get more attack is either through awakening your cards or getting these type of boosts. Okay, so if you take this deck, which can, if it generates all power 4 gems, and then another deck that can generate power 4 gems, this is where you're going to get additional boost. Now this stacks. Okay, so if you get multiple copies of Ozomatli, it will stack in your attack, overall attack damage itself, but it is a little bit expensive to evolve, because this is not going to be something that you can just get from the event itself. The catalyst is going to be something you have to purchase. So that's something to think about as well. And it also generates fire gems, so that's a nice gem creator. And it does have another passive where when you attack, then you'll generate more intensity, exactly the same as the Golden Guardian behavior. And then the Holy Death here, so this one does have a 3-turn cooldown. It'll generate 2 firepower gem 3s plus an additional one for every 125. Again, at 6 stars, this will drop down to 100 intensity, and I believe it'll create power gem 4s. And then the ultra rare, which is Zolotl, has a 75 spirit intensity requirement, and it does create 2 and then 2 power gem 4s. Okay, so this is sort of the way the deck works, and these are all attackers, and they dispel zombie. So zombie will attack you when you heal. So to me, it's lesser of a problem if I get hit by zombie. And then the guild boss is going to be casting Gem Silence. So that's the main thing to think about, Gem Silence. And Chaos is going to be one of the smaller bosses. So again, I don't think it's really that big of a deal, but it does become really helpful. This card be really helpful for guild versus guild or PvP, where people have started using bosses that will cast Chaos. So let's talk about the deck itself. So I've built a couple of decks already around this, okay, and we can see here. Oh, before we do that, let's talk about also the required cards. So Firebrand Hannibal is one of the required cards, and then Kinich Ahau, as well as the Nightmare Fiend. Now, all 3 of these cards, I will tell you right now, are cards that can actually be relatively easy to collect, and I'll show you how. It's through the Dust Door. But first, let's talk about the cards themselves that I've sort of created. So, the first one I did was a Demigod deck. Okay, so anybody who has Panoply the Swift card, this is a Demigod card that will also generate gems. and is a Slayer card. And I got Blazing Glory from one of the previous events. So I'm also, this one also will create Power Gem and also double if there's more than 8 gems. Cecilia the Proud also creates 2 power gems if there's less than 100 HP. And then Flameheart is what I'm bringing in to dispel Gem Silence. I have other cards in my, I can use as well, but for now I chose her to start. And then Celestial Sun Tech, just because it's another demigod card that I can use. So this is almost a pure demigod card. And then the relics I've chosen, basically I try to get as much fire gems as I could. The way to play this deck, this type of deck is, you just have to generate gems and then try to match it. This is not going to be a high. This will be, not quite a high damage type deck. But what I would imagine you want to do is, if you take the free card, you'll want to actually build a spirit deck instead. So for spirit deck, I have this right here where I'm using Idalia. So this is a commander card, but you can mix and match. Okay, so it's actually okay for me. So what I'm doing is a gem creator, a power gem creator cards. And then I have the Night Sun, which will actually destroy all the non-fire gems, so that I can create them, drop them, and then match them for additional damage. And then right now I use Mecha Muramasa as my spirit hero. And then when I get the Cannibal God, then I'll put that in to give me 1 additional health, 2 immunity to my damage. Okay. I'll most likely just be running this deck, and I'll be switching this out for a I usually use Flameheart to generate to dispel Gem Silence, but I'll probably put in a Warden in here, so the Minotaur, for example. I'll also be running my Olympian card. Aladdin is sort of a no-brainer here because it heals, and it also is a Fable card. And Lita is my Gem Silence Dispeller. So this is another deck I'm going to be trying. I only have 1 commander in this deck. I would have liked to put in maybe my Raquel card in there, but these are the 2 decks I'll be running with. But these are also the cards I've created. Really, the way I'm sort of thinking about it is, I think, given sort of the meta that's coming out today, where the power gem spawners are only in ultra rare cards now, try and see if you can use some of the older cards, and if you can, put them into more of a gem creator, gem destroyer combination, so that you can try and get more damage every turn. And if you have access to Aladdin, throw him in there, okay, so you can get more health as well. Now, what I want to do is, before I sign off, let's go and talk about the Dust Store. So what I said is, if you're looking to go after this collection, for example, and you're missing some of these cards, and you have a lot of dust to spare, you can actually go in here, go into the store, and if you look at the Dust Merchant, the hero section, there is multiple options here. Now, what I believe, based on some of the things, my own trials, as well as seeing how other people have tried it, you're going to be getting you the best value with the 100 dust shop. So, disclaimer here: if you don't have enough dust, right, you can quickly go through a lot of these. All right, so only use this at your own discretion if you have enough dust to spare. But it's a good way to try and get some of the cards you might need. So let's run through. I have 3,000 dust here. So let's go ahead and open a few so you can sort of see what it's like. So let's go ahead and open up some. So you're guaranteed to get 4-star heroes, and what's nice is sometimes you can get past event heroes that you have catalysts for already, so you can hopefully upgrade it to 5-star, 6-star, and then dust them for more. Okay, right now 4-star cards will give you 25 dust if you just dust them, and it's another good way to get some of the past wardens as well. So they've changed the drop rate for some of these cards. So for example, Loki used to be really hard to get, and I've been getting them all the time when I get them now. Right, so let's see here, Gwen. I will say that I get Hannibal quite a bit when I open up the Dust Store, but I haven't tried it since then. Since the cards have been, since this event has started. So I'm not sure if they might have lowered the possibility of getting that card. You can see I got a bunch of Wardens already, and I got Giru. That's another card I get quite often. So that's Arthur. No, I'm thinking I need to get the other one, Hannibal, right? So let's hope that we actually at least get Hannibal or the Toad here. So there's no guarantee, but it is possible to get them in this method. So it's a free way to get them if you don't get them from your from your collection or something. So here it is, Demon Toad. So I got this Demon Toad. If I wanted the for my collection, I'll just get it and then I can level it up. And I believe we're in fire right now, so I can actually level up this card as well. But I won't because I'm not going after this collection. And then let's see if we can get the Hannibal card as well. And then let's just kind of see like what good cards we can get. So I saw at least one card that can level up to 6 stars. A couple of Gluttonous Shares. Okay. I could have used Kozo a few events ago there. And so sometimes the timing is kind of funny too, like the cards that you get after you need it. I'll probably stop at about 400 because I do need to get some catalysts here as well. So Ken, I can evolve him there. Okay. Summoner Camilla, another card that I got quite a few of. I'm not going to bother upgrading. Cassio, that is really hard for me too because I've used up all of... to get 2 in the row. Let's just go ahead and open them all because I can dust some more. Let's just see what we can get here. So we started with 3.1 thousand, and so this is sort of if you have a lot of dust to spare, this is another way to get some cards. I just got Theseus there, another card that I was hoping for a long time, and so that's it. All right, so I didn't get Hannibal there, but I did get the Toad. And so hopefully, if you try it, that might be something you might be able to get. Hopefully you have better luck there. It's just another free way to get something. But keep in mind that dust is very valuable because you can use dust to get something like your catalyst. So if you're missing a tier or Golem's Heart or Serpent Scale to upgrade your hammer or something, you want to make sure you have at least 400 around. So try not to use them all up, but if you do have some lying around, this is an option for you to try and build up some cards, or maybe get one of the past event heroes so that you can use it to your collection. Anyways, so that's all for today's episode, and let's wait until the event starts because there's a new mechanic that they're introducing, so I do want to make sure I talk about it when the event does start. So that's it for this episode. Thanks for taking the time. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next episode. Take care.